You're watching BCTV. We're all about Brantford. You're watching BCTV, Brantford Government Television, a service of Brantford Community Television. This program is brought to you in part through the support of the town of Brantford.
Okay, my name is Peter Basserman. I'm chairman of the Brantford Inland Wetlands Commission. We have a regular meeting today, August 10th. It is 7:01. We have a quorum.
Recording in progress.
We have a quorum of commissioners, so we can get going here. Let's see. All commissioners are seated for discussion as well as decision this evening. We have, let's see, a roll call to do. Commissioner Ormrod.
Commissioner Ormrod here.
Commissioner Finaro.
Commissioner Finaro here.
Commissioner Goklowski.
Commissioner Goklowski here.
Commissioner Papantonis.
Commissioner Papantonis here.
And I think we've got all commissioners on roll and seated. BCTV is recording this evening. They have asked that, especially when speaking, that we can be seen on the Zoom meeting profile so that the public, when they view the meeting, can associate a face with the discussion. They have done a great job of being able to record these meetings for public purpose, so please cooperate with their request. This meeting is being held in accordance with Public Act 22.3. When you're not speaking, please mute so that we can minimize any kind of feedback. And you can use the raise your hand feature with the Zoom meeting when you choose to speak. Let's see, I have staff members as well. Staff member Frederick.
Here.
And staff member, where's Katie? Blanchett? Katie Blanchett?
I'm here.
Okay, we've got everybody on board. The meeting this evening, let's see, has an agenda. The agenda that we're using this evening is the one that was revised on August 4th of this year. It is on the town website. Commissioners have a copy as well. And then that superseded a earlier agenda for this evening's meeting.
Peter, it's actually, I'm sorry, it's Katie Blanchett. It's actually revised August 9th, not 4th.
Wait a minute. That's the one you sent me today?
Yes, sir.
I think I didn't print that down. Hold on. Okay, August 9th it is. Let's see, we've got, it looks like some members of the public on the call this evening, on the meeting this evening. So let's set the stage for those folk that this may be their first inland wetland meeting in attendance. This is a fact-finding mission to understand the application that's in front of us for permit. It's the Brantford Inland Wetlands Commission. We are governed by Connecticut Statute 22A. Our town regulations, which are drawn from 22A and modeled after a set of state regulations issued by the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. Commission aims to apply those regulations in a fair and uniform manner across all applications that come before us, meaning everyone conforms to the same standard. Commissions that are seated for this application are required to be fair and independent and not predisposed to any application. Commission must decide the merit of the application from the facts as they appear on the record and from our own personal observation and technical expertise. We are not an environmental review board. We do not deal with planning and zoning issues. It is a wetlands agency, and so we want to hear about activities that have a direct impact or effect on wetlands and/or watercourses. We accept the applications as they are proposed and either approve or deny them. It is not uncommon for conditions to be included if those permits are granted. The Commission has the responsibility to determine whether the application is consistent with its regulations. It's important that the applicant has a full opportunity to disclose the details of the application. The Commission will ask questions during the discussion of the application, and once those have been satisfied, then if there are public comments, especially if we have registered interveners, then the meeting will open up for their comments, and then we'll have an opportunity for the applicant to address comments that they feel are appropriate at that time. So applicant will start, commission will ask questions, we'll then open it up to the registered interveners, and then one last time the applicant can address those questions. We're trying to assess this application within a time frame specified by the Connecticut statute and our regulations. First up, we have the minutes for approval, July 13th, 2023, regular meeting minutes. They were sent out and they are again on the town website. And these are the minutes, again, of July 13th. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
I put a motion. Commissioner Goklowski, motion to accept.
And a second?
Commissioner Finaro. Second.
Was that Commissioner Finaro?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion, further discussion on those minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Next up, we have the August 8th, 2023 special meeting site walk minutes.
I don't think these ended up going out, and I thought I had put them in the Dropbox, but didn't see them there. If you would like, I can screen share them for review.
Yeah, they're short and sweet. Why don't we do that?
They were emailed to all the commissioners yesterday.
Okay.
I'm seeing
Jamie,
them.
will you put those in the Dropbox as well?
Yes.
Okay. Now that there's an opportunity for everyone to review those minutes, is there a motion to accept the August 8th, 2023 special meeting site walk minutes?
Commissioner Papantonis, I'll move to accept the minutes of the special meeting, August 8th.
And a second.
Goklowski, second.
Any discussion on those minutes and that motion? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Application for receipt, 38 Howard Avenue, retaining, inland wetland 230702, 38 Howard Avenue, retaining wall construction and associated activities. Jamie, can you set the stage here?
Jamie Frederick, inland wetland agent. So this application was submitted in response to a notice of violation. It is for receipt, so it is not actionable this evening. There was a site walk earlier this week on Tuesday, and it was raised that there is a holding tank upstream of the subject site, which was viewed on the site walk. I did ask the town engineering department about it. They did not seem to have any knowledge of it being a town structure. Also, I'm not sure that it really pertains to the subject application, as the commission's reviewing activities, and this tank would be upstream of where the site is located. So if anyone on this call has any questions regarding that tank or structure and whether or not it's a town structure or there's any town responsibility, I would encourage you to contact the town engineering department. But I don't think it's very relevant to tonight's discussion.
And it was, correct me if I'm wrong, it was not included in the material provided by the applicant for this permit?
I'm sorry?
There was no reference to the water tank in this application as it was submitted?
Not that I'm aware of. There were 2 documents that were submitted today, which I must admit I've not had a chance to look at, but I don't know if they referenced that, so the applicant can follow up if I am incorrect.
Okay, other than that special note, this application is again for receipt this evening, so it's not actionable this evening. Does the applicant have comments regarding this application?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, James Perito. I'm an attorney with Halloran and Sage in New Haven at 265 Church Street. I represent the owners of parcel 38 Howard, which is Kim McCabe and Charlotte Watt. They are here remotely with us tonight, as well as Jim Preddy from Control Engineering, who prepared all the surveys, plans, and engineering reports for this application. As Jamie mentioned, we're here for an after-the-fact application. A little quick background. Some time ago, the owners had discussed with the zoning department the possibility of constructing a garage on the site. And they had changed their plans and decided not to do that and only put in a patio, and did not realize that that would require an application to this board. So that's why it's sort of an after the fact here when there was a NOV. We had some cleanup done on the slope, which I'll get into in a minute, and put in the patio. And once it was completed, we received an NOV and all work stopped, with the exception of putting in the silt fence as directed by Jamie, right near the watercourse. As some of you know from the site visit, this lot is fairly narrow, slopes up a hill from the road to the house, where the existing driveway runs along the left north side. And the lot is fairly level at the point of where the house is, and the area sort of directly behind the house, where the patio is now surrounded by the wall. As the record pictures will show, the pre-patio condition of the area behind the house, there was a small deck patio area and large rock outcroppings, so basically the ledge. There's very little topsoil and vegetation on that upper area, and then the site drops fairly steeply down to an intermittent brook, which is actually open as it courses through my client's site. Upstream, the intermittent brook is in a pipe that's off our site, and then downstream it also is in a pipe. Mr. Preddy will give more detail of that in a moment. So in preparation for the patio work, in the fall and winter of 2022, we had a landscaper come in to clean up the slope. He removed a lot of garbage and debris that had been put there by prior owners, things like pieces of metal, tires that was taken out. And he did cut down a fair amount of the invasives. Despite some of the claims from the neighbors, to our knowledge, the contractor did not remove stumps or take out vegetation under the deck of the adjoining property. I can run through some pictures as we get through that, but I just wanted to give you some of the history. Mr. Dunn installed the wall in the patio, and then the NOV was issued in the end of April of 2023. As we were finalizing the survey for this application, there were comments filed by some of the neighbors. So we revised our plans and made proposed changes, which are on the application tonight, to both the existing wall and the patio to address the comments. Again, Mr. Preddy will give an overview of those details. In the record, you will see a report from Davison Environmental. Matthew Davison is a professional soil and wetland scientist and a Connecticut certified forester and erosion control professional, who inspected the site in June of this year and concluded there was no adverse impacts to the watercourse from the patio installation or vegetation cutting. He made some recommendations in his report, which is in your file, and paraphrasing them, essentially to seed some of the bare soil with an annual seed mixture or contractor's mix, and planting a few taller native shrubs along the brook for shade purposes. Both those suggestions we certainly are willing to do if you give us permission to do that. We have also submitted a report from George Logan, MSPWS, from REMA Ecological Services, who is in full agreement with the Davidson report, and the REMA inspected the site on August 8th, a little bit earlier in the day from when some of the commission members were out there. He noted the regulated area in this matter is the intermittent watercourse and the narrow fringe of wetland area on the southeastern border. I'd like to just point out one of the things he says in his report. Again, it's in the record. On the second page, he quote, "We are in full agreement with the findings of the Davidson report, which also concludes there are no observable physical impacts to the intermittent watercourse from the installation of the retaining wall and patio, or from the cutting of brush on the down gradient slope. We also find the Davidson recommendations of seeding bare soil and planting a row of nannyberry to be appropriate." He goes on to say, "We do not find that the allegations contained in the two petitions by neighboring property owners are reasonably likely to have effect of polluting and destroying the public trust in the water and other natural resources of the state, which, for the purview of the Branford Inland Wetlands Commission, are inland wetlands and watercourses." He does not believe any further mitigation is necessary. He would, however, recommend that once the shrubs are planted and there's at least 90% vegetation cover of the soil surfaces on the slope within 25 feet of the watercourse, that the silt fence be removed to allow movement of wildlife that utilizes the stream. The other report that's in your file, and Mr. Preddy can talk about this, is his report that analyzed the runoff and drainage. The report made clear that the 100-year storm runoff increases by 17 cubic feet. But the flattened patio surface slows that runoff, and there currently exists a storage capacity in the fill between the pavers and the wall of approximately 48 cubic feet. So there's no increase in stormwater runoff with that capacity. In response to some of the questions raised in Jamie's letter of July 26th, we responded as follows. There was 4 questions that she asked. The first was the question about where the wall is located. When Mr. Dunn installed the wall, he did not have the benefit of a final survey line. And it appears that there may be an area where the wall crosses very slightly onto number 34. It's our intention, as shown on the plan, to pull the wall back off of any area that's on number 34 from our side of the line. And we believe that since the owners of number 34 have petitioned to be a party to both the NOV and this application, which was granted, that they are parties to and part of the application. So I think that answers that question. The second question was review with zoning, and that's why we're proposing to lower the wall so that it complies with the zoning requirements regarding walls on property lines. Third, a question about grading. There'll be no grading beyond the wall or down the slope. That there's none contemplated, and there's none anticipated. And lastly, there was a question about some PVC pipes that come through the wall on the slope side. There was a question of whether they drain anything. They do not. They're essentially wall weep pipes. They're put in to relieve hydrostatic pressure that builds up behind walls. It's very typical. And all that does is allow water that might build up behind the wall to sort of seep out. They are not connected to gutters, drains, or any other water sources beyond what just is the soil and sediment behind that wall. So at this point, I'd like to, if you don't have any questions of what I've talked about, Jim Preddy to go through the plan, show where things are located and what we would like permission to do going forward. Jim? You're muted.
Good evening, Jim Preddy for Scuolo Engineering, 420 East Main Street in Brantford. I did go over the plans quickly at the last meeting, but Jamie, if I could share the screen, I can bring them up again.
Yeah, so are these the same site plans that are submitted on file, or are these revised site plans?
No, they're the same.
Okay, I wasn't sure based on the comments that were just made. Try now.
Okay. So hopefully you can see that. This is the property at 38. Here's the house, the driveway up the left side that Attorney Perito just spoke of, and the patio area. Let's see, come in a little bit. Here's the retaining wall that kind of encompasses the fill area for the patio and what will be, what was planned to be a grass area. And then this is the slope down to the water course that is, partly on 41 Brockets, and then it comes on to 38 Howard, and then kind of crosses off and goes on its way. On the other side of 34, upstream a little bit, it is in a pipe under a few of the properties that comes from Rustic Road, and then it outlets into this open water course as it goes by our property. In response to the NOV and from Wetlands and from zoning, we had proposed to, as discussed in Matt Davidson's letter, silt fence was installed immediately. We are proposing to introduce some shrubs, as he had suggested, along the edge of the water course. And although it's a bit moot at this point, but some overseeding of the soil areas on the slope. The grades that we show here on the plan are proposed new elevations at the top, where we're lowering the wall where we need to conform with the zoning requirements that Attorney Perito just mentioned. The encroachment that he also mentioned is over along here. We are a few inches over at the very front of the wall, and it tapers back to nothing. So some of the pavers behind the wall will have to be removed, and the wall will have to be moved back. I think that was. We did add, because now that this plan did add, now that everyone's aware of the requirements of the Wetland Commission for this patio area, the plan had been to also put a low retaining wall on this side of the yard to flatten it out with a more lawn area and planting area. So we did add that to the plan so that it is part of the application. And also, for what it's worth, a prefab shed that we do have within the setback lines. Although, again, this is a zoning issue, but I believe sheds smaller than 200 square feet are allowed to be as close as 5 feet to the property line. But this is only 80 square feet, and we are within the building setbacks. Jim, did I miss anything? I think that was all that was discussed.
I think you wanted to point out that some of the where the corner is, because the wall has to be reduced in height.
Yeah.
That area, the pavers would be pulled back.
Oh,
Additional planting area would go there for plantings.
Jim Preddy again. So what Attorney Perito is referring to is that this area of pavers here, we're showing here, we were going to pull out and create more lawn space, and then some shrubs along the corner here where it would have to be, the wall would have to be lowered to meet the zoning requirements. We were planning on planting some small shrubs behind the wall to further aid in any potential runoff issue. But with the pervious pavers and this lawn area around here, this, the area that's been contained now within the retaining wall has created sort of an envelope of soil that didn't exist before. So that does aid in slowing down any runoff and gives it a little bit of storage. Although we did only count in our analysis the stone that's directly behind the wall, the void space in the stone that's directly behind the wall, and we're just only counting the stone. We're not increasing any runoff here. But there is actually, other storage in the soil that we didn't count on. I guess I'll take questions from the commission at this point.
Commissioner Goklowski. My question is the patio area that's in question of the property line, the ledge area itself. How much of the ledge is under the patio? Is it only the small area that was visible that we saw? Or is there quite a bit of ledge underneath the patio?
So I don't have a lot of pictures from before, however.
I-
Hold on.
It was in the record, if I can, Jim, it was in the record. Some of the photos that the interveners submitted showed the amount of ledge that was under the patio, which was
Yeah.
pretty extensive.
Yeah.
And I believe there's also between the wall and the property line, the neighbor's house, there's ledge outcropping there, which I think Commissioner Goklowski
Oh.
spoke about because he was at the site for that.
Jim Preddy again, Dave. So this fence is more or less where the wall is now. You could see the ledge outcroppings here that's in between, and then you could see in this photo some of the ledge outcroppings that are creeping up between the lawn, and then there's in the background you can see the small deck that was there.
Okay. Commissioner Goklowski again. Jamie, do you have a picture of where the pin is located in any of these that we saw the other night?
Let's see.
You know what I'm talking about?
I think
I'm just
so.
trying to see.
So I'm going to start off with one of the pictures I think that was being referenced regarding the backyard conditions. Everyone's seeing.
There you go.
Yeah.
So this is that deck, and this is
This is the
the
original.
backyard before the retaining wall
Okay.
was put in place. The current retaining wall was put in place. And then I do have photos from the site walk as well. That was on Tuesday. So this is the slope, revegetated for the most part, and you can kind of see the water course right in this area. Corner of the retaining wall relative to the deck on the neighboring property. I guess I didn't get that pin area that you're talking
The
about.
pin, because if I remember, the pin was. Can you go back to that first picture where you saw the end of the deck? Right there. I believe the pin is about, if I remember correctly, about 2 feet away from the retaining wall, if my memory serves me correctly.
I think the
I
pin
asked
shown on the
about
site
it.
plan.
It is. It's on the survey. If you want me to put that back up, or you can.
Yeah, it's right over here, but I think it's.
There's that bolt right there.
Yeah, that bolt, but that bolt is farther away from the wall than that map is showing, I believe, if I remember correctly, because it sticks out like a sore thumb.
That might not be the same pin. And then if you zoom back, Jim Preddy again, when we were standing up above looking down, I think you could see the capped pin that was in the back corner, sticking out of the brush back here. That was sticking out quite a bit out of the ground.
Oops. I don't think I got any of that either.
Does that answer your question, Commissioner
Yes.
Goklowski? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
I do want to mention that it was one of the things that Jamie talked about on the site walk when we were upstream. I guess retaining tank they call it. Yeah, that's not part of our application because we have nothing to do with it. It was one of the interveners was just pointing that out to the folks on the walk so they would understand that somebody had. I believe she said it was the town. Somebody had put that in a number of years ago.
Yeah, let's, Commissioner Basco, let's stick with the application that's before us. A couple questions on the grading. Any material being brought in?
No more brought in. we will have to take some out to lower the wall to make it conform with zoning.
And no stockpiling, Jim?
No stockpiling. In fact, you know, any of the material, the additional wall area that I showed that hasn't been done yet on the right-hand side, any of the material that we remove could actually be used there. So,
Okay.
you know, they won't have to bring really in much more to level that out.
Okay. In your, Commissioner Bassman again, in your discussion of pulling the wall back to not encroach on the neighbor's property, it sounded like that was a relatively small linear footage pullback. Is that true?
It tapers from like about 3 or 4 inches at the front to nothing. It crosses back onto the property line, but it does go back about 20 feet or so. So they will actually have to, you know, remove some of the patio blocks and dig down behind the wall. And it's not very high at that point. It's only a couple feet high, but they'll have to dig down behind the wall and then reset it. But it's stacked blocks, so they'll just take it apart and reset it behind the line.
Using Commissioner Bassman again, using machines to do that?
No, that'll
No,
most
hand
likely
dug?
because it's a small area that they have to remove. They'll most likely have to do it by hand.
Hand. Okay. Thank you.
It'll make a bigger mess if they bring a machine in.
Right. Any other questions from the commission?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Papantonis. The site plan that you just showed, the dirt area, as I recall it, is smaller than what it shows on the map. So you're saying you're going to pull the pavers back?
Yes. Let me go back. So this is the line now that's out there behind the wall. We were going to pull them back to here to create more grass area in this side. Pull this right across, actually.
And the Commissioner Papantonis again. And what kind of shrubs is it that you're proposing to plant over there?
They're Alex Granata.
Sorry, Jim, I didn't hear you.
Ilex crenata. It's a type of it's a small holly.
Again, this is an application for receipt. You know, we're not making a decision tonight. Is there any additional information that the commission wants for the next meeting?
Before you jump to that, Peter, I'd like to just mention that a third petition to intervene was submitted to the office. It has the same language as the first two. So I would recommend that a statement be made on the record that that petition has been received and has intervener status in the application and notice of violation in addition to the other two. And so that
is that does that get it on the record, or we need to make a formal?
I think that works.
Okay, great. Yeah, before we open it up for public comment, etc., I guess the question is so that the applicant has the full advantage of having the presentation this evening. Is there any additional information that the commission feels it needs to help make a decision on this at the next meeting?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. It might make sense to wait until you hear from the interveners to see if anything else comes up.
Sure, I'll ask the question again after the interveners, but it sounds like with the silence that everything that the commission needs has been presented. And if anybody feels differently, let me know.
Mr. Chairman, can I just inquire with respect to on the agenda, as you know, later on under enforcement is the NOV. Is there anything else that you expect us to do with that aspect since the silt fence in place? I believe the letter from Jamie indicated that, you know, it's still there. The slopes sort of reestablished itself, and I just wasn't sure if the commission wanted like a second presentation for that, or it would be deemed the information we've given for the application is addressing the NOV.
I would defer to staff regarding that, but from my standpoint, I think that the NOV should be a quick discussion, given the fact that you identified a number of items in the discussion we had on the receipt of the application.
Thank you.
Jamie, am I out of line here or not?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. So it's common practice for the commission to kind of move the enforcement action up to be discussed after the application in cases like this. So once we're done hearing from all of the parties, we can have a brief comment regarding the notice of violation. But it's generally our standard practice that as long as the site is stable, there's no active new immediate concerns, then that's kind of standing. It's put on the agenda in case there's any action that needs to be taken on it. So we'll wrap up with that after we hear from everyone else, assuming anyone else has comments.
Okay, I think we're at that point where we can open it up for the interveners to make their comments. The comments should be obviously, again, those things that are pertinent to this commission and its regulations and the information contained in the application that the applicant has presented. I guess please identify name and address before you introduce your comments. And who wants to go first?
We have a hand raised from Keith Ainsworth.
Mr. Ainsworth.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, my name is Keith Ainsworth. I'm an attorney here in New Haven. I'll lower my hand. There we go. I'm an attorney in New Haven. It's my privilege this evening to represent the interveners, Sophia Nouri and Stephen Diaz Romero. They're the owners of 34 Howard Avenue, the property next door that you visited when you did the site walk. I just want to give a little bit of background. I mean, we'll have, I have with me our engineer who will probably make comments and a presentation at the next meeting. But just to sort of give some background, I mean, the respondents make this out to be, oh my gosh, this was just an innocent violation. The respondents to the notice of violation are not just folks who made an innocent mistake. These are two legal professionals, one a law enforcement professional, the other one a lawyer, both of whom the very nature of their jobs is to enforce violations of law. They came to the town, consulted with the town. They were told they needed permits. And the building of that garage included having to put in the retaining walls that they now put in. For them now to say, oh, we had no idea. I mean, first of all, as any attorney knows, ignorance of the law is no excuse. And for them to have been told that there were potential permit issues, and then to just go and do what they did without design professionals, no engineer, no plans, no permits. Frankly, it's one of the more serious types of violations. As a result of their mistake, nothing my clients did. As a result of their mistake, no one knows what's behind the wall. We don't know what kind of soil, what kind of fill, how much fill. We don't know what water is going through and how it changed the hydrology. The engineer who testified regarding stormwater is speculating because he doesn't know what's behind it. He didn't design it. He has no idea what's behind that wall. He can talk to the landscape guy, but the landscape guy, frankly, knows how to build blocks. He doesn't know design. And clearly he doesn't know permitting because the guy who built it should have known that there were permits necessary, in addition to having trespassed on my client's property. And so in this case, not only did they not follow the advice they were given, but they ignored it and they proceeded to build structures, and they changed the hydrology, and they've damaged my client's property. My clients will tell you that their property is now flooding to a greater degree because of this. So it's changed the course of flooding on the property, which is one of the purposes of the inland wetlands laws, is to reduce flooding. And then they, they built the structure and they're now essentially asking for forgiveness. And I think what they're hoping to do with these plans is to get more than they would have gotten had they started from the beginning, with proper permits. And the solution really here is to take down what they put in completely down to where it was originally, and then start from applications, permits, designs, and do this properly. Because no one knows. My clients can't know what's behind the wall because we didn't design it. We didn't build it. And no one can know because it's behind stone and underneath patio stones. Unless they start excavating the whole thing. If they're going to do that, might as well take the whole thing down and start from the beginning. And the Brantford zoning code, and I know we're not talking about zoning, but it does have an interaction with what you're doing. Because if you were to grant this permit and there was a zoning issue that had to be corrected and the design had to be changed, it would have to come back to you. So you ought to be at least aware of the interaction between the zoning code. And zoning code of the town of Brantford, 6.1 or 6.13, says that all retaining walls shall be set back a distance of at least equal to the height of the wall from the property lines. This one is on the property line, clean and simple. It's actually over the property line. They've admitted that, but there is no exemption here. All retaining walls shall be set back a distance of at least the height of the wall. That means it should be set back 3 feet. Right now, it's crowding the property. It's crowding the drainage course in between the two houses going down to the stream. That means it's making the water go faster. These are very serious issues. So if they need to move that wall back 3 feet, then, and obviously they're not proposing that, so they probably don't believe that, or at least they're trying to get away with not doing that, or their interpretation of 6.13 is different. But I guarantee you, if either this commission or the zoning commission or the applicant ignores 6.13 and does not pull that wall back, everyone's going to court. I guarantee that, because that's a clear, unambiguous, simple regulation that uses the word shall, and it says all. That's all inclusive. It doesn't say walls under 3 feet. It doesn't say walls over 3 feet. It doesn't say walls made of stone or made of this or that. It says all retaining walls. So I believe it would be advisable, given that zoning issue, that this application should be denied, and they should be told to remove what they have put in, and then start from the beginning. Anything less would be a half measure, because no one, not even the applicant and not the enforcement staff, and certainly not us, and not the applicant's engineer, knows what's behind that wall. Now, they could have installed some sort of membrane along the boundary line behind the wall, which might have kept the water away from my client's property. They didn't do that, or at least they have no idea whether it was done. There's no evidence of that because there's no plans. They could have put in a French drain behind that wall that would have channelized the water into a pipe and taken it down slope. No evidence of that. However, these are solutions that could have been in place had there been a proper application before your agency and before the zoning board. Now, that was only the applicant's fault. People who should have known better, they're legal professionals who had access, obviously, to professionals because they have them here now, and they asked the questions, and then they decided to do something different and didn't ask the question whether that something different required permits. In fact, it sounds like they probably were told, or at least they had some knowledge, that there would be permits required. So their mistake resulted in a lack of information and a lack of solutions that could have been implemented at the beginning. And now you can't do those because everything's already constructed. If they pull it all down, you deny, and they pull it all back down, all of those potential solutions are back on the table. And those not only affect the neighbors and their property interests, but it also affects the wetlands, because it allows for a proper storage of stormwater, a proper calculation of what the existing stormwater regime might look like, and to handle it, as opposed to saying, well, we think there's storage behind that wall, and those are claiming those are weep holes or weep pipes. What do we know? What do they know? We don't know where those pipes go. We don't know what they connect to. We don't know what's behind there. These are very substantial questions that need to be answered. And I think an appropriate process is that they need to start from the beginning.
Okay.
I'll just conclude. until we have an opportunity to see what else they present.
Thank you. Next up,
Commissioner Goklowski, Attorney Ainsworth. I appreciate your comments regarding all the debacles that carried on. Couple things. You're citing a lot of zoning violations that this particular commission has no bearance on. You're also acknowledging the fact that you're ready to go to court and threaten to sue us. And I think before we have any further discussion, our town attorney should be present the next time you plan on speaking to us. Because I personally take it offensive when we're trying to understand the whole situation when you're already ready to go to court and sue everybody and everybody. And so I think you should dial it back a little bit. This commission is trying to find the issues and act accordingly. But we have no control over what zoning does. We only have control over what goes on with inland wetlands. I personally walked that property the other day, and I personally did not see any discharge of water from the subject's address. We did see discharge of water coming from the street that was going through the manhole covers. That's where we saw the discharge of water. And there was also other water, there was other PCP pipes from a neighbor's property coming across. We saw no water coming out of the properties, either two properties. So for you to start threatening lawsuits and taking everybody to court, we need to have a fact-finding mission, and I personally take it offensive.
I'm terribly sorry. You shouldn't take offense at my clients asserting their rights, just as the applicant are asserting theirs.
Hey, let me intervene here. We're taking comments tonight. We're not acting on this tonight. We're trying to get the items on the table that all parties are of interest concerning this application get a chance to be heard. And I think it's appropriate at this point in time that we take those comments and move on to the next one. Who might that be?
I'll take that as an instruction not to speak further, but you should be warned that I have a right to speak.
And you had it. Next up. Any other intervener want to make comments on this application this evening? I guess hearing none.
Nope, we have a hand raised, Peter.
Oh, we do. Where? Oh,
We've
yeah.
actually got two. We had Sophia Nori raised first.
I don't see that.
The
only one I see raised is Mr. Sonics.
I believe that they're part of the same group, so I guess you guys can decide who wants to talk first.
Okay.
No worries. Rob, feel free to go first.
Mr. Sonicson?
Good evening. My name is Rob Sonicson. I'm a registered professional engineer with Waldo and Associates. Our office is at 89 State Street in Guilford. I've been engaged by the owners of 34 Howard Avenue to review the application. And I appreciate the fact that there have been additional reports submitted today and a hydraulic analysis done. But of course, we've had no chance at all to see them. I have a couple of other comments just in general that might want to be added to the plans. It seems that your regulations requires that the wetlands and watercourses be identified. And I know that there wasn't any flagging done by a soil scientist of the area of the watercourse, and we don't know if there's any poorly drained soil adjacent to it that would establish the wetland boundary down by the watercourse. And that would also establish the 100-foot upland review area, because you're looking for areas that are being impacted, and you want to know how much fill has been brought in and things like that in your regulated area. And it seems that the plans don't have that information, the 100-foot upland review area in them. I know that the application indicated the total area of disturbance in the 100-foot upland review area But I think it needs to be added to the plans. And that would be a suggestion that I would have. And I know what Sophia and Stephen are going to be requesting, and I certainly do support the fact that based on the level of public interest that there is in this application, that we think it's appropriate to schedule it for a public hearing for processing at the next meeting. And that's all that I have at this time until I have a chance to review the new information that's coming.
Thank you, Mr. Sonicson.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. I do just want to follow up on one of the comments that was just made regarding a wetland delineation, especially in regards to a comment I think that was made earlier about possible wetland area adjacent to the watercourse. And I would agree that that should be added to the site plan for the next meeting, along with and I'm not sure because I did not look at the materials that were submitted today, but along with a soils report regarding the wetlands on site, which may have already been submitted. I'm not sure. And I also do want to just take a step back real quick and comment on planning and zoning. Inland wetlands does obviously not regulate planning and zoning, but I do think it's important for the applicant to kind of have a general idea of what is required from planning and zoning. I don't know if they've reached out to planning and zoning or not, but certainly it does streamline the process for all parties involved if they don't have to come back after going to planning and zoning. So I do think that that comment is somewhat relevant just in the sense of streamlining the process. That said, zoning regulations are not my jurisdiction. I cannot say whether or not the plan complies with the zoning regs.
Okay. Is there another hand raised? Let's see, Sophia?
Thank you, Chairman Basserman. My name is Dr. Sophia Nori. I'm the owner of 34 Howard, along with my husband, Steve. I just, wanted to echo what Rob said. I know that I acknowledge that we've been one of the loudest other voice regarding this application. And I know that there is a lot of community interest. There's multiple neighbors on the meeting currently, and I do think a public hearing would help other voices be heard too.
This is Commissioner Basserman. Jamie, the regulations for public hearing, can you briefly run through those to make sure that everyone's on the same page?
So see. Our regulations for public hearings align with the state statute. And it says the agency shall not hold a public hearing on an application unless the agency determines that the proposed activity may have a significant impact on wetlands and watercourses. That's 1. 2, a petition signed by at least 25 persons who are 18 years of age or older and who reside within the municipality in which the regulated activity is proposed, requesting a hearing is filed with the agency not later than 14 days after the date of receipt of such application. Or 3, the agency finds that a public hearing regarding such application would be in the public interest. So I think the third one is what's.
Does the commission, this is Commissioner Bassman, does the commission feel that a public hearing, item 3 that Jamie read out, would be in the public interest? So if the commission doesn't feel it's in the public interest, and either a petition or what was the first one? We determined that there's an impact on the wetlands, correct?
Significant impact. A petition is received within 14 days of receipt, the date of receipt.
And the date of receipt was,
It would be today.
okay,
Or that it's in the public's best interest. Or in the public's interest. What was I gonna say? I think we might have a couple more people on the call for this item, so you might want to see if anyone else wants to talk and then ask the commission that question.
again, okay. For those that would wish to speak, please raise your hand so we can have you comment. I don't see any. Jamie, am I missing something?
I don't either.
Have
If
we,
not, yeah.
Commissioner Bassman, have we determined that we know that this has a significant impact on the wetland or water course, this application at this point?
That would be for the commission to determine.
This is Commissioner Papantonis. I think until there's a wetlands delineation and a soils report, I don't know if we can make that decision.
So the commission has 65 days from the date of receipt to open a public hearing, so you could wait until you have received that additional information to make a decision.
Yeah, I think this is Commissioner Bassman. I'm kind of aligned with Commissioner Papantonis. It could have a significant impact based on information that we have yet to receive or have not been able to review if it has been received. So it may be premature to say that this requirement can be addressed until we get the information, which I guess we'll need to receive prior to the next meeting so that we can make that determination and not put ourselves behind the 8 ball with the time frame. Does the applicant feel that it can provide the information regarding the soils and the delineation by whatever the next meeting is?
I don't see any problem with that, Mr. Chair. I think as a practical matter, the 100-foot buffer, 100-foot regulated area, given the size of the lots, extends probably past where the house is now. So in terms of actually trying to delineate where it is, your jurisdiction is, is within this whole area here, but we will be happy to flag those little bit of wetlands that are sort of fringe wetlands along the stream, as mentioned by the report, so that it's very clear on the site plan.
Yeah, I think it was pointed out by Mr. Sonicson that part of our requirements is to have that information on the record, and so I guess to the extent that we can comply with that, completes the application. I think that's a step in the right direction.
We'll do that, absolutely.
This is Commissioner Papantonis and Commissioner Basterman. You were not at the site walk yesterday, but we weren't able to go down to the wetlands because of the growth in the ledge. So, so we couldn't actually see the wetlands ourselves except from up above.
Right, yeah, the vegetation looked pretty thick in the pictures that I reviewed. Anything else on this matter? So we're going to continue this until the next meeting, given the fact that it's a receipt application this evening. The normal process is that we do not make a decision on the day of receipt. We're also going to forestall any discussion of a public hearing until the information that was requested is available at the next meeting, and hopefully we can make that determination on September what, Jamie?
14th.
14th would be the next meeting. Thank you all. We now have some applications for review.
No, we still have applications for receipt. I think you're looking at the old agenda.
I'm looking at the old one. Jeez.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, did you want to take up the NOV as Jamie had mentioned that typically after the application, you take that up just for a comment so that you're
in the order of the agenda.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So the information that I got only shows one application for receipt.
So there was a revised agenda filed and sent out, and it has 3 additional applications for receipt. Let's see.
For the sake of time, can you introduce those items?
Yeah, so the next application is for 44 Marks Court, IW number 230801. It's for a canopy structure over a patio. Before I start diving into this, do we have anyone present for this application? I'm not seeing any names that jump out at me as being applicable. Is anyone present at the meeting for 44 Marks Court?
Jamie, this is Katie in the Wetland Associate. There's an Alex S. That might be him. Isn't that the contractor's name?
I'm wondering, yeah.
Yes, that's me.
Okay.
Somebody
Okay.
would you roofing and siding?
All right, so the patio has already been installed by another contractor, and the sonotube footings have already been dug for the canopy. So I wanted to double check with the commission whether you'd be okay with me doing this administratively. It's fairly minimal activity, but it is pretty close to a wetland area, and that wetland area has not been delineated by a soil scientist. So I'm just going to screen share a GIS map real quick. All right, is everyone seeing an aerial image of Marks Court?
Yep.
Okay, so 44 Marks Court is underneath the cursor hand right now. You can see offsite wetland delineated to the southwest. So one can kind of interpret that the wetland area probably follows the contour kind of in this general fashion that I'm showing with the cursor. So the application is for an approximately 14 by 13 canopy structure over, again, an existing patio directly off of the house. I think I also have some pictures from when I went out the other day. So here's the sonotube footings, the existing patio, and then the wetland is kind of down this at the bottom of this slope over here. So you can kind of see it probably falls basically at the toe of the slope. So my question to the commission is, are you okay with me processing this application administratively? And would you be okay with waiving the wetland delineation, given the topo change and pretty clear approximate limit of wetland based off of that information?
Commissioner Basserman, Jimmy, what do you think that distance is?
If I had to guess, probably like 20-ish feet.
20 feet?
And when I was out on the site, I did notice that it does appear to kind of drain this way and then down towards the wetlands. So it's not a straight shot for sheet flow. And they are proposing to have the canopy structure sheet flow, and they're not direct discharging it to a point source.
Any commissioner feel that this is not appropriate for agent approval? I think you got your answer, Jamie.
Okay. So I will follow up with the applicant if I have any questions, and a copy of the permit will be sent once it's done being reviewed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Katie, do you have access to the agenda from where you're sitting?
I do.
Can you send me an email with the updated agenda?
Yeah, you didn't get it this afternoon when I
I
sent it?
did, but the one I printed was the one that was 8-4.
Okay. Yes. Hold on just a moment.
Okay, while Katie is doing that, I'll just screen share it for now. So the next application is BRIW 230802, 45 to 81 Short Rocks Road. Construct a 30-foot pole bridge across Pisgah Brook below Supply Pond Dam and rehab 70 feet stream bank to prevent further erosion and complete trail improvements. Do we have anyone here present for that application? I'm not seeing who I was expecting to see.
Right.
Do we want to table this until later in the meeting?
Yes, I was not at the last meeting. Did you get a presentation at the last meeting?
This is for receipt, so
Oh, you did, that's right.
yeah,
Okay.
so we'll table it, and if we'll give it one more shot towards the end of the meeting if somebody's here, and if not, then they can present at the next meeting.
Right, okay. Thank you, Katie, I got it.
Wonderful.
Okay, next up, Inland Wetland 230803, 61 East Industrial Road, indoor facility for athletic use with associated site improvements. 61 in East Industrial, okay.
Jamie Frederick, Inland Wetland Agent. So somewhat recently I issued a letter of non-compliance with the permit. It turns out that there's a new proposed use for the property. So clearing has started, erosion controls have been installed, and it is in compliance, generally speaking, with a permit that has been issued and is on file for the property. And the application, I believe, that the commission's receiving tonight is for a new site plan with what the property owner / property owner to be would like to do with the property. So I will hand it over to the applicant unless the commission has any initial questions. And I'll ask if you want me to screen share the plans or if you would like to screen share the plans.
This is Commissioner Bassman, just one question. Jamie, the letter you're referring to is the March 11th letter?
I actually don't remember when it was sent and it's not in the file, so.
Okay, got it. This was a non-compliance letter, correct?
There was a letter of non-compliance, which in my mind has been dealt with for the
Okay,
time being, so.
okay, thank you. Who has the floor here?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. My name is Jerry Panico. I'm the architect and I'm the applicant for this project.
Mhm.
We are proposing to build a new indoor facility of approximately 21,000 square feet. We're working with Chris Cuolo Engineering. Jim Pretty is present on the meeting. So we're going to be submitting for a special permit for zoning. This is an industrial area, but it allows the use, but it requires a special permit. We are working on the, we have a small wetlands area, but we are working, upland of that. So I'm gonna let Jim to explain more what are we gonna do with the site. If that's okay.
That's very good planning.
Thank you.
Good
Mr.
evening.
Preddy.
Jim Preddy, Criscolo Engineering. Let's go to the screen. This property here is 61 East Industrial Road at the end of the cul-de-sac. This property had been in before in conjunction with 57, different applicant. They were going to do something that kind of used both sites together. So this application really is just for 61. As Jerry said, that there is an off-site wetland that does actually cross the property line here by about 8 square feet, I think. But this is the wetland that's part of the whole Bittersweet property. It kind of butts up here. What is this shaded area here is just noting areas of 25% or greater slopes, which we had to remove for coverage calculations for wetlands. For zoning, sorry. What the plan is to construct a new 20, like Jerry said, about 21,000 square feet for indoor pickleball courts, and then a couple of outside courts. There is a loop road that goes around the structure to try to minimize the width of the aisleway. We will have some retaining walls associated with this, again, to try to pen in the disturbance as much as we could. But one way in, one way out, with the opportunity to go back around if you need to. Some paver areas in the front here for access and for, kind of standing around the court's main entrance with a canopy in the front. I'm going quick because I realize this is just for receipt. We do have a grading and a drainage plan here. The detention basin in almost exactly the same spot that it had been before. The silt fence that's out there now, we staked out, was from what was approved before. This does change it a little bit, I believe in this area over here. So we will have to kind of remark that and move that at some point if this gets approved. But currently there is silt fence in place. We do have some underground chambers planned to collect roof area to try to infiltrate what we can. And then some high level overflows that eventually add into the system. This outlet for the detention basin connects to an existing pipe that runs out through the right of way that goes to that other property. There was already an approval for that connection with you folks and with the owners of Bittersweet as part of the last application. We have standard details and erosion control notes and our typical stuff. All the disturbed areas downstream of the wall or downgrading of the walls will be all reseeded with an erosion control mix and left to go with with the exception of maintaining in the interior of the detention basin. The rest of it, one of those mow like once or twice a year kind of seed mixes to keep that vegetation thick. That's basically what's going on. There is public water, gas, and sewer available on the road, so there's no need for wells or septic. And again, the wetland area just touches the property. The wetland 100-foot line is here. So this basically part of the detention area and a little bit of wall is within the 100-foot area, and it just kind of touches it over here. But that's the site, and I'll let Jerry talk about the building a little bit.
Just Commissioner Bassman, just one question. On the east side of that building, Mr. Freddie, do you bring in fill?
Yeah, let me go back. Yeah, so there is retaining wall along here. So we will need but we have set the building down as far as we can. So at roughly here, we're matching grade. So there's more cut here than fill going on, but we will need to fill behind this wall here for sure. Yeah.
Right. And you'll do that from leveling for the building, or do we bring in fill?
No, they'll be able to use the material that's here.
Okay.
In fact, the way I'm looking at it now, there's probably an excess, so probably some material will have to leave.
Okay. Thank you.
Jamie Frederick, in the Wetland Agent, just a quick question regarding stormwater. Is there any stormwater calculations as part of this application?
There is. I ran out of time. You'll have it shortly.
Okay.
This is Commissioner Bassman. Jamie, was the plan that we just looked at sent out to the commission?
No, it was submitted yesterday. We didn't have a
Oh.
chance to get it sent out, so
Okay.
it is in the Dropbox if anyone wants to look at it, and we'll send it out when we send out the next round packets.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions from the commission for Mr. Criscola or Mr. Panico? We'll see you next meeting then.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
I think that was number 4, was it not?
Yes.
Yeah, well, now we can go to applications for review. BRIW 230602, 185 Damascus Road, exterior site improvements to Francis Walsh Intermediate School. I think we've reviewed this previously. In the material that was sent out, there was a staff draft report. But I guess, do you have all the information that you need, Jamie, from the applicant?
Jamie Frederick, Inland Wetland Agent. Yes, we received all of the information that's been requested.
Does the applicant have any comments that they want to add to the record at this point? I don't even see anybody here for that. Oh,
Am I on? Can you guys
yeah,
hear
you
me?
are on. Yes, sir.
Oh, perfect. For the record, Dominic Seltruda, BL Companies, 355 Research Parkway, Meriden, Connecticut. We received staff comments and we have no further comment on the matter.
Great. Any additional comments from the commission before we review the staff report? Okay. 4-page staff report. We get early part of that, talks about kind of the background and what's been done with this site. And then it also offers up possible conditions for consideration. Does any commissioner have issue with any of the possible conditions that have been drafted? I had one, Jamie, on item 6.
Mm-hmm.
Is it normal to put in kind of a time frame for this work to be done?
Oh, sorry, I was reading number 5. I was looking. So it says issued. Oh, I guess there will be no certificate of occupancy for this project, so that is a good point. I'm pretty sure the town itself is going to require something like this. We could change it to say upon completion of project.
Well, it says after the second sentence, after completion of the project and as built, but identifying the field layout, site conditions, there is no time frame associated with that.
Yeah, because usually we have it prior to issuance of occupancy, but there's no occupancy for a field. So we could say prior to acceptance by the town, perhaps.
Works for me. And on item 7, we certainly talk about the first year post-construction. Is it normal that after the first year, we just do the maintenance logs without specifying for how long or whatever?
Yeah, Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent. So as part of the maintenance plan for the project, there's ongoing maintenance, and that's a forever requirement associated with the project.
Okay.
So they'll always have it on hand, but I don't know if many of you have been in our office, we don't need a copy of every single one, but if there's an issue, we should be able to receive a copy so that we can review it.
Okay. And that's ad infinitum?
I'm sorry?
That goes on forever?
As long as the field's there, as long as the improvements part of the project are there, then yes.
Okay.
It's a never ending thing, just like home ownership maintenance.
No wonder it's hard to move around in the office. Okay, any other comments from the commission in terms of changes to the possible conditions of consideration? Does any commissioner want to make a motion regarding DRIW 230602? Well, I guess I will then. I make a motion that DRIW 230602, 185 Damascus Road improvements to Francis Walsh Intermediate School be approved with the conditions, both possible conditions for consideration, standard considerations, and general provision in the issuance of all permits included on a 4-page staff report dated 7/31/2023. Is there a second?
Commissioner Gokowski, second.
Any further discussion?
For clarification purposes, with the modification to item 6 to be prior to acceptance of completion of project by the town in lieu of prior to certificate of occupancy.
That friendly addition to the motion is accepted
Yes. Yes.
as well. Okay. We're going to take a roll call vote on this. Commissioner Armrod,
Commissioner Ormrod, aye.
Commissioner Goklowski,
Commissioner Gokowski, aye.
Commissioner Finaro,
Commissioner Pernaro, aye.
Commissioner Papantonis,
Commissioner Papantonis, aye.
Commissioner Basserman, aye. Just a question, when might this activity commence?
We're looking to go through planning and zoning. We're going to be submitting within the next couple of weeks for that. Barring that process, we're looking to break ground. And this is tentative, obviously, everyone's been asking, probably after the first of the year, 2024 construction.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And there we go. So next up we have Inland Wetland 230605, 29 Business Park Drive, a patio 24/41, and native plantings along the edge of the lawn water course. This may be a possible review, but let's see if we have somebody here for the application.
There's been a request to table this item. I'm still waiting for the information that was requested by the commission. They are working on it. I did go out to check the site just to make sure there were no issues relative to site stability. And I was satisfied and am supportive of continuing the item. I'll bring it back if I need to at the September meeting, or it might be under agent approvals. We'll see.
Moving right along, Inland Wetland 230606, 3537 Harrison Avenue. You got an email 6/29. Actually, we got the application beginning of the week. Yeah, beginning of the week. Oh no, last month.
Yeah, we got it a while ago.
Okay. 706.
So Jamie Frederick and the Wetland agent. This application was for receipt at the July meeting. So it is actionable tonight. However, I had requested a decent amount of information. A lot of information was submitted today. I've not had a chance to review it. Not all of the information I requested has been submitted. But it's kind of hard to say to what level, because like I said, I've not had a chance to review what came in. So
incomplete and no time to review. Sounds like it's an item for next week.
I think the commission is definitely going to want to continue the item, but if you want to get a bit of an overview of the project, so that way you can see if there's any additional information that you think is necessary, or if you think there's any information I requested that's not necessary, I think that would be appropriate. Just to kind of go off top of my head, some of the things that I don't think we have still include a cross section of the stormwater system that's being proposed, what it's going to look like. And also the stormwater calculations are based on the impervious area from the building, but it does not include any stormwater retention or treatment for the driveways and parking areas. So that's not a comprehensive comment in response to the materials that were received today, but those are the two things that I initially picked out. So I guess with that
So I
being
assume
said,
you're gonna ride herd on these and we'll have the information hopefully we need at the next meeting.
yeah, so do you want to have a brief overview of the project, or do you want to we've got the applicant here?
Is the applicant online?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Chuck Mandel, agent for the applicant, is here.
Given the fact that you're here, we'll certainly look to hear a abbreviated discussion of 3537 Harrison.
Okay, thank you very much. Chuck Mandel, agent for 3537 Harrison Avenue, LLC. This parcel is actually located directly across from the Brantford Police Station. We had two soil scientists go out there. One was Bob Russo. He went out initially to identify any wetlands on the site. That's part of the, that's an exhibit that we presented. That's in the report. He didn't find any on-site wetlands. Subsequently, Jamie had asked for a functions and values report. We went ahead and hired Dave Lord to make an assessment, and his report is also part of this application, which you can read through. That's been, you've had that for a while. I'm not gonna go through the entire report. I'm just gonna read the conclusion. It says, in my professional opinion, the proposed development of this property as presently configured does not represent a likelihood of any measurable adverse environmental impact to the existing functioning of the off-site wetland or long-term functioning at present levels. I was lucky enough that some commission members actually showed up at the walk. That was yesterday. It seemed like a long time ago. The wetlands that are near are off-site to a layman such as myself. I'm actually a wetlands commissioner, but it just looks like lawn at the time. So it's been slightly, doesn't function as a wetlands except for possibly water storage, maybe. The neighbor did come out and said she did see a duck occasionally when it did pond. There are many of the comments that Jamie had asked us to address. Some of the major ones were showing silt fence, anti-tracking pads, trees to be removed. We've included all that, and we do have stormwater calculations for water quality volume and for the two items. And let's see. I do have that report. So his groundwater recharge volume is also present. Jamie, if you put that, if you'd be so kind to put that on the screen so they can take a look at the map, I'd appreciate it.
Sure, 1 minute.
Okay. The gravel of the parking and all the associated driveways are all gravel. That's why they were not included in the stormwater calculations. It's presently it's going to be a six two-bedroom townhouses are proposed. That's the I guess I'm not sure what color that is. It looks orange, maybe. I don't know. That's the proposed building. Actually, we put the building as far away from that little point of wetlands that's right there, which is actually lawn. We're right against the building setback line to the south. That cyan line, that's for stormwater quality. So if needed be, if we had to make that larger based on any comments, we would just extend that. Jamie's right, there is no cross section, but those are standard storm scepters. It's a pretty standard detail, which we can certainly add to the plan later on. We are showing the, like I said, the silt fence, the stockpile area. The foundation itself is going to be a crawl space. Slab construction is very difficult with utilities. This would be public water, public sewer. That is why where it's going to be a slab. It's going to be a crawl space. And I believe there weren't many other questions. One was the direction of the flow. So it's a very flat site. So we won't be affecting the flow one way or the other. The flow actually goes to the south and to the north. You can see that 12-foot contour kind of encompasses the entire site. So the direction of flow would be both north and south. We're not affecting any of the drainage patterns that are there presently. And I was naively thinking we'd get an administrative approval due to the fact of the functions and values, that those wetlands are really almost non-existent at this point, and they're not acting like a typical wetlands that the commission is used to seeing. And I'd like any comments I could get from the commission in regards, as far as affecting the wetlands, there is no effect at all, chemically, physically, to the wetlands themselves.
Commissioner Goklowski. I have a little history of both the subject property and the adjacent property. The adjacent property belonged to my grandmother, and the subject property belonged to friends of the family, the Fintas. And the rear of the property was at one time both my grandmother and Mrs. Finta had this massive vegetable garden that we used to grow vegetables for the two families. But my question, when I was out there the other night, I thought you were building 4 units in the back and you have 2 units in the front. Now this looks like you're doing a total of 8 units on the property.
That's correct. There are 2 existing and 6 proposed.
How much fill are you bringing into this property?
Actually, we're going to be removing about, let's see, about 400 cubic yards are to be removed for the footing. So it's going to be the removal. And in regards to the actual fill proposed, the topsoil is going to be removed and replaced with gravel. So it's going to be a wash in regards to that. So it's actually a net loss of fill. But if you want to count the building itself, it would be the volume of the building, which is 3,600 square feet. But if the building is considered fill, it would be the entire building. But it's going to be excavated. The footings and the frost walls for the crawl space are going to be excavated, and the topsoil is going to be removed and gravel is going to be brought in.
And what is the depth of the crawl space approximately?
About 3 feet.
Okay.
Does the crawl space require footing drain for building code?
No footing drains are required for crawl spaces.
And no footing drain proposed?
And no footing drains proposed, that's correct. We will be capturing the roof water. You can see there is a provision for the roof water to be caught up in the, so that cyan, that would be the store, and that is in the stormwater report for maintenance of those structures is in there.
To that, Mr. Commissioner Bassman, to that point, Mr. Mendel, the stormwater calculations, the little box on the plan that was submitted, C1, is there before and after stormwater calculations somewhere in the application?
Yes, that's a report that we handed in later today, Mr. Bassman. So that is in our report. We do have the stormwater sizing requirements, and it's 372 we're providing, and it's 270 is existing.
Okay, thank you.
I think it shows what's proposed versus what's required for the roof, but I don't think it shows the existing and proposed, or the pre and post. It also doesn't include the driveway and parking areas. And even if it's gravel, the commission generally requires some sort of management from at least a water quality perspective. So I would strongly encourage the applicant to further pursue that. Also, I had asked about, because this is gravel, how that gravel is going to be kept in place so that it's not migrating over time.
Yeah, that is in the report, in
Okay.
regards to being raked on, but I mean, we could certainly put a metal strip along there to contain it. And any additional stormwater requirements would actually run along the south of the building. We're not proposing anything to the north. Like I said, we have a large area that we can just keep extending that for storage, if that is required, to come up with additional use. That's why I was hoping to, I know this commission has a lot on their plate. And like I said, based on the fact that those wetlands are actually, we did do the functions and values, and there's no effect at all on the wetlands, on the physical or chemical characteristics of the wetlands. I was just hoping to move this along, but whatever the commission, obviously it's the commission's decision, but based on the field walk that the other commission members have walked, I didn't see any problems with this proposal as it stands now. And we can provide the additional information, which has actually only a couple of items that we need to come up with.
This is Commissioner Fenara. I just had a quick question about, and sorry if this has already been discussed. Once the trees are removed, will that affect the amount of water and the calculations that do run off?
Well, we're accounting for that for the roof, because most of them fall within the roof area of the building. You can see the TBR; those are the trees to be removed from the site. The three large ones are actually right within the building area, and there's a smaller pine tree, which is to the north, that will be removed.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Goklowski, again, because of my history of the property, these two properties are the lowest point. Behind where he's building, where the property lines are going, in the back here, the properties are actually elevated that are behind them. And my concern is that we're probably going to have additional water that's going to collect, or at some point probably leach over into the actual wetlands that are currently, the adjacent property owner has grass planted there, but it could end up having a flooding problem. So I don't know.
Jamie Frederick.
This property narrows out very much. So
yes, it does converge. You can see by the building setback line, we're parallel on the south, and that north where it says BL, you can see it converging once you head towards the east. In regards to the flooding, I mean, it's a very wet area. I've seen the water in there. But like I said, those cyan structures, we can triple, quadruple those. There's no issue with retaining pre and post.
I see that you did test pits and the characteristics of the soils are indicated. Did you do any perk tests to see about infiltration rates? Because I know for test pit 2, it identifies modeling at 17 inches. And that's where you're proposing the stormwater.
Right. Those are 12-inch galleys that we're proposing. Yeah, I mean, the perk rate, I mean, that's all we have for storage. So if we excavated down, we didn't really hit any gravel layer that we could do like a T-wick into there. So I imagine that, like I said, we can increase the size of those storm techs. And that's it. We're very limited on area. We can move those around. We could actually move that storm tech over to test pit 1. We can capture that anyway on the higher areas.
This is Commissioner Baskerville. So, Jamie, is there a written correspondence to the applicant on what the additional information is that you're requesting?
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent. So I do have a staff report dated yesterday, I believe, that was sent to the applicant. I can follow up and see if the, revised list based on the revised materials, which I've not had a chance to review yet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if any of the commissioners were able to review this report. It was sent out yesterday.
I have not.
But I mean, obviously I listed the items that I thought were appropriate to be submitted, so I think those items should be submitted. I think it would be consistent with past practice for the commission to include treatment of the parking and driveway areas. And I certainly think that it's an application that should be reviewed by the commission, given the proximity of the activity and the fact that it's sheet flowing currently with no treatment very close to the wetland. The commission doesn't, functions and values are important in consideration and review of an application, but just because a wetland has reduced functions and values does not mean that it's treated differently. So it's certainly, you know, still a regulated area. And this is a lot of development, and I think the commission should stick to the standard information that's required for an application of this scope. And I also think, and perhaps the applicant wants to reach out to planning and zoning, but I think planning and zoning is also going to require a stormwater treatment of those parking and driveway areas.
So Chuck Mandel, yeah, I agree that they are wetlands, but we did have a certified soil scientist say there is no impact chemically or physically to those wetlands. I just want to get that on the record. And that is,
I think you put that on the record. I think there's also requirements that we need as kind of our bailiwick.
no,
You
absolutely.
You could work with staff on that. That would be great. One question for Commissioner Gopowski. Given your history with the site, etc., do you feel you need to recuse yourself, or do you feel you're in still a position to make an independent?
My family hasn't owned that property in well over 50 years. I played there as a kid, and my grandmother, you know, it was my grandmother's house adjacent. I don't feel that I would be making an incorrect decision. I'm just a little cautious of the side properties.
Okay.
This side property here was very wet yesterday. Where there was some fill that was put in there, whether it was mulch or whatever, along the wooded area where the trees are going to be moved out. It was fairly wet.
The only thing I'm trying to get to, your relationship doesn't impede your decision.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I have no relation to the applicant. So,
right. Got it. Got it.
Yeah, we have no issue. Not that that matters, but that's
okay. Are we any more on this item? All righty. Next up, let's see.
Thank you.
Inland Wetland 230701, 55 Meadowwood Road. It looks like this has been requested to table, Jamie?
Correct. And we have time, so I think it's fair.
Moving along to enforcements. Notice of violation, 38 Howard Avenue. We have a quick discussion here. Is there anything outstanding in the NOV that hasn't been addressed in the application?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. I think for the time being, the status of the notice of violation is kind of on hold. I don't have any immediate concerns. I would say as far as whether or not the application addresses the notice of violation, we should hold off on until the commission has made a decision on that application. But I think at this time, as far as I'm concerned, there's no action that needs to be taken on the notice of violation, but we should listen to all parties present.
Does anybody have any additional comments? First of all, the commissioner on the NOV for 38 Howard Avenue.
We have Attorney Perito with his hand raised.
Yeah, hold on. No commissioner hand raised.
Oh, sorry.
Yep. Okay, members of the public, comments on the NOV for Howard Avenue 38. Commissioner, Mr. Perito.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to say a couple of things. I feel compelled to do this because of the aspersions that were cast by Attorney Ainsworth during the application about my clients. I think my clients have made it very clear that they made a mistake. They're not trying to pull one of those, ask for forgiveness after they've done something. to claim that because they might be in the legal profession or law enforcement, they know all aspects of law, is like saying that, you know, anyone in the medical field knows everything from brain surgery to podiatry. It's ludicrous and it's inflammatory, and we're trying not to go down there. The issues before you are what happened to the wetlands and the water course, what we've done to remedy that, and then the application, whether that's appropriate in this case. So I just wanted to say that for the record. And I do think we've done everything in accordance with Jamie's suggestions. And for those commissioners that were nice enough to come out and walk the site, they can see that the hillside is really well vegetated. Again, a lot of invasives, but that's what's in that area. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, cease and correct 040301.
Before we move on, Peter, just maybe do a final call for comments. I see we have some other people still on the call, so I just want to make sure no one else had comment.
Public. I'm sorry. I see no hand raised.
All right.
Cease and correct 040301 573 East Main, clearing and grading, removal of topsoil within 100 foot of the wetland. And there's a request to lift the order. Jamie?
All right, Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent, per the commission's request and discussion at the last meeting, I did attempt to go out and walk the site and do a site inspection to confirm whether or not there was compliance with the order and or outstanding concerns relative to the order. I tried to access the area of subject to the cease and correct order, and despite my best attempts, I could not get in because it is very densely vegetated with autumn olive, multiflora rose, a whole bunch of different things. So I have a couple of pictures from my site visit, but I spent most of it just trying to find holes to get in, and I couldn't. So based off of that and aerial imagery of the area in general, it does appear that the area of that was disturbed, which is kind of to the back of, like, over this way, is vegetated. This is an example of what I was up against trying to access the site. As you can see, it's very thick. So in order to do a site visit of the area of concern, there would have to be some substantial clearing of paths to get in there. So I don't know that that's worth it at this point. I certainly didn't feel comfortable directing for that to be the next course of action without going to the commission. I also have a staff. Okay, so 1 minute. I'm going to back up. So my GIS map is from 2016, so it doesn't show the aerial coverage. And unfortunately, I did not throw a newer aerial image into the file for the Dropbox. But looking at Google Earth, it does appear to be vegetated throughout. Whereas back in 2016, which is what this aerial image is, sorry, I'm jumping around to queue up. You can see some of these paths, I think, were cut for preparation of an application that was before the commission. I believe that those, based on newer aerial images, have been vegetated back in. And you can see that generally throughout this area, there's certainly vegetation even back in 2016. Reviewing some of the materials from that application from 2015, there was some discussion regarding this area and the revegetation of it and how much it had revegetated within the last 3 years back in 2015, which of course now we're in 2023. So just to kind of set this, okay. I don't think we have a whole lot of commissioners here that were on the board back in 2004 when the violation was issued, but generally the gist of the cease and correct order was that there was removal of topsoil in this area, and some stockpiling of debris. And so the area was to be revegetated, stabilized, and piles removed. The purple delineation is what was presented in that 2015 application, and the red delineation is what was on file prior to that application. So you can see, generally speaking, they align pretty well. There were no concerns raised during the 2015 application, excuse me, regarding the changes in the area relative to the subject notice of, cease and correct order. So just a quick history, the order was issued in 2004. The commission determined to file the cease and correct order on the land records. I think I have these backwards. Oh, yeah. Determined it should be filed on the land records, and then it was filed on the land records, I guess. Commission determined that an application for a permit for the removal of the topsoil shall be submitted, or the area should be restored. The owner submitted an application which was granted. Permit IW 040603 was issued for clearing and removal of topsoil within 100-foot upland review. It said on the permit, please note that the cease and correct order will remain in effect until the commission has determined compliance with the order has been accomplished with, which will include revegetation of the buffer area as shown on the approved plan, and site is stabilized. The last documented correspondence we have with the property owner prior to this summer regarding the cease and correct order is from October 2nd of 2012. And that was an attempt to try and schedule the final inspection that was required to resolve the order. That inspection did not occur. September 2015, an application was submitted. The commission did a site walk. In 2018, staff put the cease and correct order on the meeting agenda to discuss whether the violation should be lifted. The commission basically decided that it should be reviewed upon request from the property owner. And then in this summer, we received correspondence from the owner requesting that the order be lifted. At the last, it was requested that I inspect the site. I should say it's July 13th, not June 8th. I attempted to inspect the site and could not get into the area of concern due to the dense vegetation growth. The original order said to use erosion controls to stabilize the site, remove 2 debris piles specified by Commissioner Orson, which are partially located within wetlands. I couldn't find anywhere in the documentation specifically where those piles were spatially located on the site. Notice of decision, submit application for permit within 30 days, or stockpiles of soil are to be spread back into areas where it was removed from the site. Application was submitted. And then in August 30th, 04, permit for clearing and removal was issued. Per approved plan, remove, fill, and establish 25-foot buffer. So I think we can pretty confidently say that the site is vegetated. I think the one thing we can't necessarily confirm is whether or not the fill material was removed. And like I said, I don't have anything that specifically identifies where that fill material was placed. And it's this entire area to the east of the wetland complex that was generally of concern relative to the cease and correct order. So that's a fairly large area of dense vegetation to be searching for historic piles. So this is a really unique situation, and hopefully one we won't come across again. Hopefully, we'll be able to keep on top of cease and correct orders and get them resolved before they become this old. So the question still before the commission at this time is a request to lift the cease and correct order.
Commissioner Goklowski, Jamie, in your opinion, you feel that the vegetation is, after 20-something years, and you couldn't even get to the site without cutting yourself a path. Do you feel that the vegetation after 22 years, 21 years is regrown?
Jamie Frederick, inland wetland agent. Yeah, I think it's pretty well vegetated. I mean, like I said, it's mostly autumn olive. It's not ideal vegetation, but it is vegetated, which is providing stability. And you know, that buffer area to the wetlands. I don't know how we would confirm compliance at this point with it being so long, and the site has historically been used for agricultural purposes. And I wouldn't know what was an impact from agriculture prior to this violation versus from this violation. So I'm kind of stuck not knowing what the commission could require at this point.
I think
Commissioner Bassett, I guess the thing that got me is, what would we think if somebody had taken action, 19, 20 years ago in terms of vegetating the site? What was there a plan for the vegetation?
I think from what I recall from the file, it was going to be either a crop or meadow was the intent. And my guess is that there was autumn olive seed bank, and autumn olive does what autumn olive does, and took up the opportunity to expand in a open space.
So the compliance on the vegetation, nature took over what we were hoping to achieve by doing something actionable on our part.
Yes.
The removal of the pile, I don't know how many cubic feet of piles there were, but it's really the fact that there was no action on this for as long. Nature took over, vegetated the site so that the wetlands are not in danger, if you will. This is kind of a rope-a-dope. Just kick the can down the road. But to try to do something now, so late, without some immediacy of danger to the wetland, I don't see that we have a solution. Anybody feel different?
I can't tell if Wayne Cook has his hand raised or
I
not.
do have my hand up. Can I make a couple of comments to the commissioner's questions? First of all, we did try initially, and I think we succeeded to some extent, to put winter rye in that area to get some cover crop over there. But as you correctly say, autumn olive is a very, it's a very successful plant, even though invasive. So it took over. And as I said at the last meeting, which you weren't here, Commissioner Basserman, autumn olive is not all bad. I mean, it's an amazing cover crop for wildlife. It has a lot of advantages. So I have there's no shame in me for autumn olive taking over that spot. Matter of fact, it might be in some respects, if you ask a few deer, a few bobcat, a lot of birds, and a lot of other animals over there, a lot better than if there was some meadow over there. So, I think in that regard, as far as the identification of debris, that was organic. That was part of what we took off of the land or off of the soil to get to the topsoil. So that organic, whatever it was, is long gone. I mean, 20 years later, that thing is dust. So you weren't going to find anything. And I have to ask, respectfully of the wetlands officer, what was she looking for over there that she didn't see?
I have no idea. You're going back, before my time.
Well, don't look at me, because I wasn't the one waited 20 years.
I understand. And that's kind of why we're at the spot where it may be a one-off, as Jamie indicated, and certainly we should have probably been more aggressive on getting the decision that this commission made back in '04 and whatever.
Actually, you were over there in 2015 with the Costco application.
Yeah.
So maybe if the wetlands officer at the time was looking with what she was supposed to, instead of doctoring peer reviews, maybe we'd be in a little better space than we are right now. So let's be honest about it.
Well, yeah, I don't know about doctoring. I don't know how.
Oh, I know everything. I know everything about. No, this is my turn to speak.
Let's stick to the topic at hand, please.
I'm speaking directly to the topic at hand. I mean, the wetlands officer was over there. They knew apparently that this cease and desist existed. What do you want from me?
So, Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent, like I stated before, hopefully this is a unique situation. And I think in the consideration of what the commission determines what next step there is, I think that timeline that I just went through is relevant. So there's two options. One, the commission determines that there's something that needs to happen, but that something is, I honestly cannot recommend. Two, the commission determines to lift the order. And if the commission determines to lift the order, I think a reference should be made to that timeline to kind of help explain why the order is being lifted. Because like I stated, the last correspondence was in 2012 regarding this violation. So it's been 10 years, over 10 years since the commission has pursued anything relative to this violation. I think to try and confirm compliance or to require compliance would potentially cause more impact to the wetlands than to leave the site as is. So I understand that this probably is not, an exciting consideration for the commission. But I do think that there are unique things about this violation that set it aside so that you're not setting a precedence of, oh, you can just ignore a violation and it's going to go away.
Yeah, we need to be clear on our decision on what it's based.
Commissioner Goklowski, the previous year, Jamie, what was the year? Was when the Costco application was the last time this was looked at?
So the last time that the property owner was corresponded that I'm aware of, based on the file, regarding this violation was in 2012. It was brought back to the commission in 2018 to see if anything should be done with it. And as far as I'm aware, the commission basically determined to not do anything at the time and wait for the property owner to reach out to the commission.
If I could ask a question, wasn't there a letter from me? And again, I don't remember these things either, asking the commission to come out that it was all set for them to look at? And wasn't that back in 2000 and what?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. I did not see anything like that.
I thought that was in your list. I thought that was in.
There's a letter from Diana Ross, the previous inland wetland agent, requesting for a site visit to confirm compliance with the order in 2012, but I don't see any correspondence back in regards to that letter.
I thought there was, but I might be mistaken. I don't know what you want from me after 20 years. I mean, not for nothing, but this commission, look at yourselves on this one.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into the debate on the flight fingers. Jamie, can you craft language that we would be comfortable with if we were to lift the order, such that the record of why we lifted the order is clear and doesn't invite repeat performances?
With all respect, Commissioner Bassman, repeat performances by whom?
By somebody else, not you. Somebody else taking a look at the lifting of an order which had not been fulfilled and using it to their advantage.
Well, in other words, another wetlands commission to be a little bit more on top of things instead of checking it out after 20 years, right?
This is a conversation between myself and Jamie, asking her to prepare a record such that we would avoid somebody else not complying with a cease and correct.
That's fine.
Commissioner Goklowski, I think I have an opinion on this. This is so old. I think it's, we're beating a dead horse. But because there has been a lien placed on the property, I think maybe we should implore the town attorney, Mr. Yanukovych, to draft an opinion what he feels should come of this, and then this way, whatever the town attorney decides, that should be the course of the commission. And because he gets paid to represent the town legally, and at this stage of the game with this lien being on the property for such a long period of time, I think it would be in our best interest to pass it over to the town attorney to give us an opinion so we can move forward with this matter.
Amy Frederick in the Wetland Agent. I have shared the timeline that I overviewed with the commission this evening with town council. And he did state that he was comfortable with me informing the commission that he would, based on that timeline, recommend release of the order. And he also offered that if the commission would be more comfortable having guidance from town council, he would be happy to provide that for the next meeting.
Can I ask, will that include a timeline? In other words, if you're going to inspect something, make sure it's within 20 years?
I think we're focusing on this file, this case,
but
and that's a general, that's a separate issue. And so I think as far as the commission's decision goes, they just want to make sure that it's clear on the record why this is being lifted, and hopefully our practice will prevent this from happening again. So we want to make sure that the unique scenario of this is being identified, so that way if somebody else says, well, what about that, we can say, well, that happened because of this, this, and that. So
one last thing, with all respect, I think you also have to ask yourself why it happened to begin with.
Commissioner Goklowski, we can't pay, we can't be responsible for any actions or sins of a previous commission. The only thing we can do is try to act in the best ability that we have put in front of us. Jamie, so you're telling me that you've already had a discussion with town council with this matter?
I have.
Okay. And town council suggests that we lift the order?
Town council would be in support of the commission lifting the order based on the information that I outlined in the timeline.
Chairman Basserman, with that information before the commission at this time, should we go ahead and put a motion?
I would like to wait for a written record regarding this particular cease and correct, that we all as commissioners look at the language and make sure that it does what we want it to do in terms of preventing this. She can prepare that. We will look at that at the next meeting with all intention of lifting the order, with that as a basis for why we do it.
Okay.
And that's kind of what we've been trying to do of late. Jamie prepares a staff report. She puts conditions down there. We look at the conditions, make sure that they cover the record of that application, and then we vote on it. I'd like to do the same thing with violations.
Jamie Frederick in the Wetland Agent. So as I stated, town council did offer that they'd be willing to prepare a document for the commission regarding this. Would the commission like for me to follow up with town council and request that document?
I, for one, say if you could put in the record that town council accepts the commission's decision as appropriate, I don't know that we need a document from town council, chapter and verse, etc. I think the record is what we want to make sure is complete. unless you feel that would not go as far as it should.
I will follow up with town council and see how they want to proceed.
Great.
I don't want to go
No,
on
I
record
mean-
saying things he's not directly saying.
There's no danger to the wetland right now, right? And that's our jurisdiction.
That would,
This Commissioner Papantonis and Jamie, we had you go out to try to make sure that it was stable and vegetated. And you were able to do that, but you just couldn't find the organic matter that had been deposited wherever it was.
yeah, and I couldn't inspect the interior of the site, but like I said, it was so dense on the exterior that I couldn't get inside. And when you look at aerial images, it looks like it's vegetated. So
Commissioner Papantonis again, but you used your best efforts pursuant to the previous order to inspect the premises so that that piece of what was missing has been done to the best of your ability, right?
correct.
Anything else on CISA Correcto 40301? Appreciate your comments, Mr. Cook.
Thank you.
CISA Correct 22-1201, 21 Brainerd Road, construction without permits. You've had some conversation, Jamie, with the homeowner?
So I did receive a response back to the email I sent the other day with the agenda to the property owner. Basically he said that he is not well. And I didn't get a response back trying to confirm whether he or somebody would be present. I do not see them here. So I know that they have a scheduled date of discussion regarding the building and fire violations on September, I believe it's September 12th, and our next meeting is September 14th. At this point, the cease and correct order has been filed on the land records. The item is on the agenda for this evening because the commission wanted to potentially discuss the issuance of fines. In the correspondence I received from the property owner, he also indicated that he does not have the funds to do a site plan at the moment, even though that is it sounds like he is going to try and pursue applications for the activity on site. So the violation was issued in December of 2022, so it has been over half a year. Hesitant to give an inch, but at the same time, I don't know if the commission wants to take action this evening or perhaps give them until the September meeting. They might have some more answers regarding their violations with the building and fire departments. They may be feeling better and they may be able to attend the meeting and or have an application. But if you want, I can follow. So I can either follow up regarding citations or I can follow up stressing the importance of the September 14th meeting.
Katie Blanchett in Wetlands Associate. I think it's also important to note that it's in the courts right now as far as the fire and building. It's not just, sitting down with the building department and going over things. It's actually in the court system right now. So that's kind of where we are. I just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of that.
Thank you, Katie. I guess to add on to that, or piling on, it might be, but it's not out of the question that what comes out of that court decision regarding fire, et cetera, could alter the plans that he would create anyway, right?
It absolutely could.
So, I mean, for us to take action now might be a bit premature.
This Commissioner Papantonis, is this is the one where the homeowner had a violation and he continued to do construction? Am I on the wrong one?
No, you are correct, and that's part of why the commission decided to file it on the land records at the last meeting. So it was just filed on the land records at the last meeting. We could give him an one-time extension to the September 14th meeting. And I stressed again when I responded to his response today that the erosion controls still need to be properly installed. And I also requested that he have somebody attend this meeting. So if the commission does decide to continue it to the September 14th meeting, I will again be stressing the importance of installing the erosion controls. The last time I was on the site was so compact, the soils were so compacted that even though the silt fence was not towed in, I didn't see any evidence of erosion or siltation below the area of disturbance. But it has been a while since I've been on the site, and the longer a site is open and if he's not actively working, then those soils are going to become less compacted and potentially more erodible. So at this point, my biggest concern is getting the erosion controls properly installed.
How about this? How about we tell them that, Mr. Bassman, how come we tell them attend the next meeting or fines will commence?
And have erosion controls installed.
And have erosion controls installed. And that'll give us also the input from the court proceeding on the 12th.
And he can attend or have a representative attend, correct?
Yeah, or a rep, sure. Yeah, if he still has health issues, absolutely.
This Commissioner Papantonis, do we know what, in what capacity this is in the courts?
I believe I put copies of, I mean, it's all public record, but I can put copies of what I have in the file if you look.
That's Commissioner Papantonis again, that's fine, but what do you have? I'm just, so we know. Because I didn't see it in the Dropbox, but I could have missed it.
I don't think I have it in the Dropbox. I have some documentation regarding it in the, actually, maybe I do. 1 minute, let me check the Dropbox first.
Just hear me out. Does that belong in the Dropbox?
I mean, it is public record. I'm not sure how much it pertains
to wetlands.
The Inland Wetlands Commission, especially since I think the violation has to do with occupancy more than it has to do with the new construction, as far as it in the court, as far as its presence in the courts.
Just to be, I don't want to know about this. If it's an occupancy issue, could it change the profile or footprint of what he's trying to do?
I think it could, in the sense that it's approved as a single family lot.
Okay.
But we're getting outside of our jurisdiction. Right. I'm hesitant to say too much.
Yes. I don't know that it should go in the Dropbox, given the fact that it's not our jurisdiction, the issue.
Katie Blanchett, Inland Wetlands Associate. Melissa, we could email it to you.
I think if we're gonna be reviewing, if one commissioner is looking at it, it should be part of the record for everyone to be looking at. Everyone should have the same information.
I just looked it up.
All right, we'll put it. We'll put a folder that says other department. We'll put a folder that says other department reference, and we'll put whatever we have in there, and people can choose to look at it if they want. It doesn't really pertain directly to us in the sense, but I mean, it kind of doesn't.
This commissioner Papantonis is it's a housing court issue, and it has to do with the fire violation. So I just wanted to make sure there wasn't overlap with what we were doing, but it doesn't appear to be.
Yeah, it's occupancy based.
Are we good on this item? Continue at the next meeting. You'll notify him via correspondence that attendance, either he or a rep at the next meeting, as well as the erosion controls, need to be completed, or their fines will commence.
Yes, I will send that certified mail and via email.
Great. All right, you've got some pesticide applications, and we don't generally get involved with that, correct?
Unless anyone has any specific questions or comments.
Just so I'm clear, because it affects something on my property. These are posted after Deep has approved the application?
So as part of the application process, an applicant has to submit a copy to the Inland Wetlands Agency.
Okay.
So it's so that the commission can comment theoretically before the permit is issued.
Gotcha.
So if the commission has specific information, so basically the biggest thing that I usually have commented on is, oh yeah, Brantford's a coastal town. Make sure you check the coastal municipality box, which isn't really relevant to us, but you know, it's something that I know is incorrect. But another thing that a commissioner might know is, oh, I know that pond and it does have an outlet, because that's one of the questions they ask. Specifically if, like, you know, as far as the amount of dose and things like that. So there might be some information that you know, and that's kind of like what they're looking that, and also some commissions do regulate the application of herbicide. Our commission has not had that past practice, and it was a discussion the commission had previously. It's always a commission discussion the commission can have again, but my recommendation to the commission is, if you're going to change that, you should probably do a regulation change, so that way it's clear that you're changing your practice.
Okay, anything else? Motion to adjourn from somebody? I thought everybody.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you much. 9:30, better than the last one. Take care.
Do you have a second?
Bye-bye.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Good night, Matt. Bye.
Recording stopped.
This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Brantford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BrantfordTV.org.